All right, welcome back to Modern Day MMA. This is episode 108 of the Modern Day MMA podcast. We got a special guest this week. My buddy Nate is checking in. Kael's being a little bitch, basically. We're gonna recap UFC. What is it? Fight Night, whatever 142. I can't even remember the numbers they do anymore. Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze was the main event. We had some heavyweights in the co-main and a couple of good scraps a little bit earlier in the card. Um, did you Where did you want to start today, Nate? Did you have anything on the prelims that caught your eye, or do you want to just look at the main card?
Yeah, so I'll just be truthful. I didn't really jump into this card until later on in the card. I was half asleep on the couch, but ended up kind of tuning in right around the Brandon Royval and Bontarine fight there. And it was a good scrap. I mean, Bontarine definitely started out hot, good grappling. Seemed like Royval wanted to use his striking a little more, even though I would consider him more of a grappler. He's got good stuff on the ground, and he ended up on his back lots, but he was working hard off the back, throwing elbows, working for submissions. But Bontarine kept getting the takedowns, but he wasn't really doing too much damage on top. Entertaining fight, though. Entertaining grappling, defensive grappling by Royval, and then obviously he ended up coming back in the fight, and I think he pretty well sealed it in the third there, and got the victory just by, kind of dominating the third round and getting the split decision win there.
Yeah, I thought the fight was pretty close. Obviously, Bontarine was pushing forward a lot of the fight. I thought that he probably got the better of the exchanges, even though Royval was hunting for submissions a lot, the ground exchanges, that is. I thought that Bontarine was putting the pressure on him, but he wasn't really doing any damage. He was maybe being more active and more aggressive, but I don't think that he was doing any damage. And I thought Royval was doing more damage from the bottom in a lot of cases and attacking for submissions as well. Um, yeah, a few people kind of thought that Bontarine won that fight, and I gave it to Royval as well. I thought he won the third round, and the second round was pretty close too. He spent a lot of time on the bottom, but again, Bontarine didn't do any damage, I thought. And that was the main thing that I took away from that fight was if Bontarine was a little more aggressive, then he could have had the victory in that one. And he was a huge underdog too. Royval was one of the biggest favorites on the card.
For sure. And well, Royval got that title shot on short notice before we seen, and he's good. Like he's well rounded. I kind of like that he almost like you can tell he wants to strike, even though he's a grappler. He can always fall back on the grappling. His striking's pretty good though, and he was having some decent exchanges from distance. I felt like he was gauging distance well, but then unfortunately his defensive wrestling or defensive grappling wasn't the best, and he was getting taken down. It's always interesting though when you see like the octagon control side of fights like that, where Bontarine definitely immediately came out, established octagon control by getting the takedowns, winning judges points, I guess, just on takedowns and aggression, octagon control, that type of thing. But then there's a moment in that fight where you can kind of just you realize that he's taking him down, but he's not doing any damage, and then you see Royval sort of take over the fight and have good defensive acumen from the bottom, and he was throwing lots of elbows from the bottom and things like that as well. And yeah, I think that's what won him the fight. Is the judges obviously seen that there wasn't much damage being done by Bontarine on top. Royval was obviously doing some damage from the bottom, but then was able to have like defensive wrestling, defensive grappling, good jiu-jitsu from the bottom, and then took over the fight in the third and ended up winning it. And I thought it was impressive. Like I know Bontarine was an underdog, heavy underdog, but it showed that Royval can have some adversity and come back. I know he wasn't very happy with himself after the fight. In the post-fight interview there, he was kind of apologizing. He wanted to maybe get a knockout or get a submission victory, and so he's looking to come back stronger next time. I'm still excited about him. I think he's a pretty good fighter, pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely super fun to watch. His scrambling ability is second to none. You can tell in a lot of those exchanges, his hips are really good, right? He has a way to move around really well and scramble on the ground without and with Bontarine, I think you could tell his primary focus was to hold Royval down, not to advance for submissions or throw strikes, because as soon as he would let that double hand clasp go, he would lose position or get swept, or Royval would move. And super impressed with Bontarine, though. Honestly, that was a big step up in competition for him, and he looked really good. You can tell that he's somewhere right in that top 10, I think. And that division's only getting better, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to see some guys step up in that division and have competitive fights where, it's not just the guys at the top of the division dominating everybody else. There's a good mix in the top 10 and some interesting fights to come for sure.
Yeah. Did you catch the heavyweight Jake Collier versus Chase Sherman fight?
I did, and it went down in a way that I didn't think it was going to. Pretty quick finish, obviously for Jake Collier. A good takedown, kind of off like a missed kick, I guess. Like he caught the kick and just pushed him down, really, Sherman down, and got on top. But I'm not gonna lie, I think I walked into the kitchen and I came back into the living room because action was happening. And I didn't really anticipate seeing Collier on the back of Sherman there. And now I just thought it was impressive. It was nice to see because I would have thought knockout, right? Like striking fight, and he knew what to do as soon as he got him to the ground and wanted to pursue a submission on the ground. I don't know. It was impressive. I was happy with it. Pretty entertaining, obviously. And Collier was calling guys out afterward and making fun of people for not Justin Taffa for not being able to make weight, and I thought that was kind of funny. So interesting fight.
That is pretty funny considering that he moved up from like middleweight.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a middleweight fighter for a while before that. And yeah, he just got a little bit of that pandemic weight.
Yeah, a little bit.
And but yeah, when you could tell when he had Sherman down and he was throwing down some of that ground and pound, right? There was just no way that Sherman could even move, right? When you got you could tell he had speed too. He looks like a former lighter fighter, right? Like a guy that was lighter and he just gained some weight. And he still got a lot of speed and a lot of hand speed and good footwork for a heavyweight, especially one that looks like he does. You wouldn't expect that kind of speed from him. And he clipped Sherman through some good combinations. Like he threw like 4 or 5 punch combination, and that just doesn't happen in the heavyweight division, right? So I was impressed with that. That being said, he beat Chase Sherman, a guy who doesn't have that much experience. He's kind of green and is trying to prove his own self in the heavyweight division as well, right?
Yeah, it's cool, like you said, when you see a guy who has been at the lighter weight classes and he still kind of moves and controls the ring in a way that a middleweight or a lighter fighter would, and has good footwork, hand speed, things like that, and the power hopefully translates when you move up in weight and carry a little bit more weight behind you. You got good power too. He obviously is in the heavyweight division you pretty much have to have knockout power, so it's nice to see that a guy can compete in the heavyweight division, maybe having had success at the middleweight division and then moving up, that it kind of translates over, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess we might as well move on to the main event of the fight night from last week there. Calvin Kattar obviously looked super good in his performance against Giga Chikadze. The first round was a little bit dicey. I thought that Chikadze was looking super good for the first couple of minutes until he threw a big ass kick and got taken down, I think, in about 3 minutes into the fight, and then Kattar controlled the fight from there. It seemed like, with some random takedowns and just activity. His left hand was finding the money with that jab constantly. Um, yeah, super impressive performance for Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, Calvin Kattar pretty much took the Holloway script from his last fight with Max Holloway and put it on Giga Chikadze. I thought Chikadze came out with fire in his strikes, and he was throwing like multiple kicks and really technical strikes, kicks up the middle, especially kind of gauging distance well, and he wasn't really mixing in his hands at the start. He's throwing a ton of kicks, and then that actually led to him to slip, and that's what got Kattar. Kattar jumped on him right away and got the takedown, and basically took over the rest of the first round. And you could tell right away coming out in the second, Chikadze just wasn't throwing kicks anymore, and it had to have been because he was so fatigued, and it was just impressive by Kattar that he almost witnessed that or saw that, and the boxing just never stopped from there on out. Like just relentless pressure. And in the first, even when he was moving forward, Chikadze was able to kind of circle off, and then as the fight prolonged, he wasn't able to circle away from the strikes of Kattar anymore, and Kattar would just walk him down. He has great boxing. and he was taking a few punches here and there, but just kept moving forward. He's got a good chin. Obviously, seeing him against Max Holloway, he really can't be stopped unless he gets sparked, which that's what Chikadze would have been going for in the first, but wasn't able to get that. And I don't know, I was pretty impressed with Kattar. I almost wrote him off after that Holloway fight. It just like it just looked like it took so much out of him that maybe he was never going to be able to come back to like the high level contender status. But taking out a guy moving up the rankings as quick as Chikadze has been and looking very impressive and durable during that fight, I think he's supplanted himself right near the top of the division for a while. And exciting fights. If he's not a guy who's going to challenge for the title again or have the opportunity to, he's definitely a guy that's going to be able to fight in the top of the division and put on very exciting fights. And you got to think Dana White's pretty happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely no quit in either one of them. I mean, Giga took some massive shots. He didn't look for a way out. And you could tell he was starting to get pretty tired by round 2 or 3, and he came back. He even, he started winning in round 4 for a little bit of time. Like there was no quit in him at all. I think that Calvin did a really good job of just keeping forward pressure. It's really hard to kick people when you're moving backwards the whole fight, especially when you're getting hit like that. And once once Giga started to slow down a little bit, it seemed like Kattar was able to just pivot more on his outside foot and cut off the cage really well. He was following Giga but not chasing him, kind of just cutting him off and pushing him into the cage really well. He started timing some really good knees that landed. One of them hurt Giga quite a bit. And then the ground and pound, he was relentless on the ground. I think he had a takedown in round 1 and then again in round 3, if I remember. Um, yeah, super impressive performance from Calvin Kattar. I mean, I knew the guy didn't have any quit in him. I was impressed by both of them, obviously. It was quite a war, really high pace. Um, yeah, I mean, Giga, I'm looking back on it. I mean, it's always easy to say this when you're looking, excuse me, when you're looking back on a fight. But the thing is, Giga shouldn't have. I mean, he was a minus 225 favorite, and you look at. I mean, he beat. What the hell is his name? Edson Barbosa, and made it look really good. He beat Cub Swanson, but those are two aging veterans and not a guy that's right in the heat of his prime right now. Um, and Calvin Kattar just stepped up to the plate and really put on a solid performance with this one. And yeah, so I mean, I'm excited to see who each guy matches up with next. I mean, Calvin Kattar, I think he's probably has to fight Brian Ortega. Super good fight for both of them. Max Holloway is currently out right now. The Zombies fighting the champion, Vulkanovsky. So I think Calvin Kattar versus Brian Ortega seems like a perfect fight to make.
Yeah, I definitely was immediately looking at the rankings after that fight to try and figure out how that was going to shape out in the top 5 or 10 of that division. And I absolutely agree. Calvin Kattar versus Brian Ortega. And that's an interesting fight because is Brian Ortega ever really going to get back to the jiu-jitsu Brian Ortega that we know, or is he just a striker now? Because if he wants to go toe-to-toe with Kattar, both those guys can take a beating. They both did from Max Holloway. Maybe they can put one on one another. I think that's an entertaining fight, although I do think that Brian Ortega's best path to victory in a fight like that would be to grapple and to consider jiu-jitsu. Although he is a taller fighter, more rangy, I think, than Kattar, be able to maybe keep it at a distance with his striking. Definitely an entertaining fight. I hope it happens. Will be interesting to see how the rest of that division kind of shapes up near the top as well.
Yeah. One of the crazy things is you look at the beating that Calvin Kattar put on Chikadze, and you just remember there's levels to this game, right? Because it was just a year ago that Max Holloway did the same thing to Calvin Kattar, or worse, if you ask me. Um, it just goes to show you that what was Chikadze? He's number 8 right now, and Max Holloway is number 1. There are still several levels in between that there, right?
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, how fucking good is Max Holloway that he's
Yeah.
able to do that to a guy like Calvin Kattar?
Yeah, and I agree. And man, Max Holloway is one of the best, right? And he's just been around for so long, and you think he's like this old man. Was he 31? I think, and that's just like crazy. And I just can't wait. I hope he gets healthy soon, and we get to see him fight again real quick. Hopefully for the title. I think he deserves another title shot for sure. I will say this though. Yeah, he's only 29. That's crazy. He just seems like he's been around. Well, he has been around forever, but it seems like even longer, And he does take punishment. He does get hit. He's not afraid to get hit. He's got a good chin. Hopefully, he can last a while and obviously get another shot at the title. And we all want to see that fight. And I'm sure it'll happen. Has the Zombie versus Volkanovski fight actually been announced now? It has, right? I'm not sure about that one. I honestly think Volkanovski looked at that fight and was like, I can beat Chan Sung Jung. I'm gonna get paid. Might as well get a paycheck in before and not sit around and wait for Holloway again. That being said, you never know what can happen. We know Zombie can throw bombs. Maybe it's an entertaining fight. We'll see how it shapes out. I was honestly surprised that they didn't just tell Volkanovski to take some time off and wait for Holloway to come back. But I don't really know what the injury is to Holloway. There's obviously some speculation out there, but I don't really know how long the rehab and stuff's going to be either. But hopefully that fight maybe can happen in the summertime on a big card or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool for the fans.
Yeah, that's a good fight. I mean, I don't think Volkanovski really wants to fight Max Holloway again. I mean, I can't blame the guy, right? He's fought him twice. He's beat him twice.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of hard to get up in the morning to fight that guy again. But I think enough people think that either Max Holloway got robbed or is at minimum. I mean, they've fought 10 rounds, and according to the judges, the Volkanovski won, 6 of them, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's obviously super close. And that's the fight that everyone needs to see eventually. But this is a good fight. I think Volkanovski probably will beat Chan Sung Jung. I mean, he's super good, right? The only guy that's even been close to beating him is Max Holloway, and he couldn't even do it. So, I think people just underestimate Volkanovski because of that second fight, especially, right, where a lot of people thought Max won.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Me too. Yeah, I thought he did too, and I'm just a huge Max fan, so I will say that. Obviously, I'm going to be cheering for the guy, but I do like Volkanovski too. He's an entertaining fighter. He's very well rounded. I think that he's like a modern day mixed martial artist, right? He's not a guy who had a specialty in any background really. He's just an athletic dude who was good at fighting and is very well rounded. I think I don't want to like look down the negative road, but like if Holloway loses again to Volkanovski, then the top of that division, it's Brian Ortega again. It's Calvin Kattar, and then who is it, right? Like there might be a little bit of a stalemate at the top of that division until they wait for some other guys to kind of work their way up the ranks. But I don't know. I'm excited for that fight. I will obviously want Max to win. I think that would be the best thing for the division, and I'm just a fan of the guy and think he deserves to be a champion for sure again. And but we'll see. Some entertaining fights to make, anyways, and I'm sure somebody out of the guys that are just entering the rankings, one of those guys is going to be a little more successful than others and may work his way up. And I'm not sure who that is yet. Maybe that's Bryce Mitchell.
I mean, Bryce Mitchell's pretty sloppy on the feet, I think, and
Yeah.
he hasn't fought. He never even fought in 2020 at all. So it's
Like it's kind
been a
of
minute
to
since we've seen
me.
him. I think Arnold Allen
Yeah.
has a chance.
Yeah, that's true. I was just looking at the bottom of the division there, and like the fact that Alex Caceres is still ranked in the UFC, like that division.
He's won 4 or 5 in a row.
I know, but it's just like I just think of that guy being on The Ultimate Fighter, and maybe even not even. I don't know. Like he struggled a little bit. He's up and down at the start of his career, right? At the start of his UFC career. So it's just a bit strange that he's still ranked and stuff. And I mean, there's still some guys like Shane Burgos can throw down. He's fun to watch.
He just became ranked.
No, I know. It's just like he wasn't on a linear path to being ranked, though, right? Like he's just snuck his way in there recently by getting some big wins, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like there was some, Dan Ige 9. There was some hype around him, and he kind of got stalled as well. So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, somebody kind of emerges out of that mix and works their way to maybe contending.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a big step up for Giga, right? And people thought that maybe he was the next guy, right? So. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be someone around the corner. I mean, you look at the fucking murderer's row of top 5 in this one, though, or the top 3 even, right? But you got Volkanovski or Holloway, right? So the two of them are basically unbeatable, other than by each other. And then Ortega had just got murdered by Volkanovski and Holloway. Yeah. Calvin Kattar same thing against Holloway, right? Chen Sung Jung just lost to Yair Rodriguez, right? I mean, there's a lot of and Ortega, right? Ortega
Mm-hmm.
murdered him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough division though, right? When you're looking at like the top five, I mean that's a tough one to break into, right?
Yeah.
Calvin Cater's number 5. Look what he just did at Giga,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, definitely super exciting division. I'm excited to see where they all go from here. I mean, a Giga can fight someone a little bit closer to the bottom of the pack. I mean, give him a Dan Ige, that'd be a good fight. Or who else am I thinking of? I mean, give him Bryce Mitchell even. Arnold Allen needs someone to fight too.
Yep.
But yeah, we should probably move on. We'll talk about UFC 270, big heavyweight title fight versus Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. Um, Cyril Gane undefeated coming into this one, and Francis Ngannou looking for his first title defense since capturing the title from Stipe Miocic last summer, I believe it was. Um, where do you want to start on this one, Nate? I mean, it's not the most deep card, honestly. I mean, I'm not sure how much time I really want to spend on it. Um, I don't know how much you know about these two guys here. Charles Air Jourdain versus Ilya Topuria. Big fan of both guys. I mean, Topuria just finished. Who did he just finish there? The jiu-jitsu guy trained with Kenny Florian. Ryan Hall TKO'd him in the first round. He's on an 11-0 win streak right now. Knocked out Jamin Jackson in his UFC second fight, I guess. Zalal was his debut. Yeah. And going up against Charles Air Jourdain, who looked really good in his last fight there against Andre Ewell. One of the lone Canadians that even has a chance of getting into the top 15. Fuck, Canadian MMA sucks. Just brutal. I mean, I guess when you're not even allowed to train in your own country anymore, that you're gonna start falling behind. Um, let's see. What do you have to say about this fight? Do you
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Jourdain is kind of putting himself out there, stepping in against the undefeated fighter who's working his way up the rankings pretty well. Jourdain's a pretty big underdog, I think, on this fight, and he did look impressive in his last fight. However, he's kind of been win loss the last couple. He had a bit of a hype train going on him for a little while there, but it kind of got stopped too. So, you know, ballsy move, and he made that evident on Twitter. I seen the other day where he posted a picture, of Mr. Garrison with his balls in a tray or whatever, and he said that's him. So he's put himself out there. I like it. Hopefully, it's an entertaining fight. Both guys like to scrap. So I'm looking forward to it at least. But yeah, kind of a late addition to the card.
Yeah, definitely a good fight. We'll have to see. I mean, I think that Ilya Topuria is super good. The guy throws hands. He's really strong. Really good power. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of experience, but I mean, neither does Jourdain really, I guess. So we'll have to see what happens in that fight. But that's one of the go-to fights for future prospects, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Super interesting fight there at what is that? At featherweight there, 145 pounds. Let's see. We'll move on up a little bit. Hani Barcelos looked really good in his last fight, going against Victor Henry. We'll see how that works out. I like that fight actually. Hani Barcelos is quite the prospect in my opinion. He's looked really good as of late, but he did lose. Oh yeah, he lost his last fight to Timur Valiev. He gassed out in that fight, but before that, he was on a bit of a win streak. A lot of finishes, rear naked chokes over Chris Gutierrez, some ground and pound wins. He looked really good. So that's another good fight to watch out for. Let's see here. Honestly, don't know a lot about Victor Henry, so sorry, bud. Let's see here. Matt the Steamroller Fravola. He got viciously knocked out in his last fight, from what I remember. Not good. I picked him to win, so didn't help. Left cross, 2 ground and pound from Terrence McKinney.
Terrence McKinney.
Yeah. That was a devastating one. I remember that one. That was a bad one. And but I mean, getting knocked out by Terrence McKinney is nothing bad. And then I mean, he got decision by Arman Saryukian, right? Who no one really beats that guy either. So what else we got here? Rodolfo Vieira looking to come back against Wellington Turman, sorry. He got choked out in his last fight, I believe, by Fluffy Hernandez. Or no, that was 2 fights ago against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Justin Stolz got choked out in the first round last time he fought there just a few months ago, 5 months ago. Obviously, big jiu-jitsu black belt, super legend of the sport. But I think he's old, and well, I definitely looked old in his last fight. After about 5 minutes of grappling, he
Yeah,
was
he is
immediately sucking wind.
massively jacked, so that takes a lot of oxygen to run those things. And then he got choked out, and that was just obviously a giant upset.
Just a Jack Natty boy.
Yeah, Jack Natty for life, and he got choked out by a guy that had no business choking him out. Props to Hernandez for that, but he needs to, I don't know, become a little more well-rounded fighter. Hopefully, get some cardio going, see what he can do.
Let's see here. We got Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialo. I don't really know who that is. Man, they got a lot of random
I don't know who
guys on
that is
here.
either, but Michel Pereira is fighting,
Gonna be
and
doing
something weird's gonna
backflips.
happen. He'll backflip kick a person like Street Fighter, and hopefully he's entertaining. Hopefully he's a little bit more disciplined than sometimes we see, because even Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. This guy has all the skills to be a legitimate contender, but he tends to mess around, and you know what? It's entertaining, so we can't complain too much. But it'd be nice to see an impressive finish for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he looked a little better in his last fight. He fought who did he beat by decision in his last fight? Chaos Williams, and then he beat Nico Price as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's been more patient, obviously, winning decisions, not gassing out against Tristan Connolly and Diego Sanchez. So we'll see how that goes for him. He's facing a UFC newcomer in Andre Fialo. So, but he is the number one welterweight in the United States according to Tapology. Like maybe in the Midwest or something.
Yeah, just in Indiana.
Yeah, just in Indiana of welterweights that are amateur. Um, what else we got here? That's actually a good fight. I mean, I like watching. He's such a. He's just a crazy man. Michel Pereira. You don't know what he's gonna do. So, hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't just gas out immediately. But
Right.
I mean, honestly, I kind of don't really give a shit, right? I kind of like it when he just does whatever he wants. His last couple fights were kind of exciting, but they weren't like they were against like Tristan Connolly. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I just want him to do these weird spinning kicks, but then like land one and knock a guy out or something. Like,
Yeah.
that would be so cool.
I'd like to see him knock someone out with a Hadouken.
Yeah, that would be everything Sean O'Malley wants. Just the
Yeah.
entertainment value
Rolling
knockouts.
Thunder knockout.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. What else we got here? We got Cody Stamen versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. Habib's whatever. Some relative of Habib, obviously.
Yes.
Hani Barcelos beat him in 2 fights ago. Um, obviously, where's that? He's from Makhachev, Russia.
Oh.
He's from Islam Makhachev's house. Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot in the UFC since. He looked good in. Oh yeah, he knocked out Ricardo Ramos with a bomb. Actually, I remember that. Mark Striegel knocked him out too. Split decisions over Justin Scoggins. So we'll see if he can live up to the old Nurmagomedov name. Cody Stamen, obviously UFC mainstay. Lost the decision to Merab Dvalishvili last time, but um, looked really good against Jimmy Rivera, actually, even though in a close contest.
Right.
And yeah, definitely, he seemed to be putting it together. His brother died, I think, right?
Yeah, that was the story before, I believe, the Jimmy Rivera fight, from what I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Because he was like right before his brother died right before that, right? And he had to go
Yeah,
fight anyway.
he wanted to fight anyway, and that was an entertaining as hell fight. He just looks like a fighter, man. He's built like a brick shit house, and he just moves forward and takes punishment, gives it out, and he's just entertaining, super fast and stuff. So, interesting fight here. I'm not huge up on Saeed Nurmagomedov. I think he only probably in it because of his name. Maybe he's gonna try and grapple. He's got a decent left hook. Whatever, he's had a knockout win, a couple knockout wins. So maybe he's willing to exchange. Hopefully, not just lay on people for 3 rounds. But we'll see what happens. This fight, not the deepest card in the world, so this fight's a little bit further up the card than maybe it should be. This suits more as a opener to a pay-per-view, but it looks like it's going to be on the main card right before the co-main event. So
Yeah, it should be a good fight, honestly. I mean, I think I don't know. Cody Stamen's a banger. I mean, the guy likes to scrap, so um, we'll see if we'll see what Nurmagomedov can do. Honestly, I haven't seen him fight for a while. He's been off for a bit. So when was his last fight? Yeah, it was over a year ago. So we'll see. What else we got here? Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueredo.
The grudge
UFC
match.
flyweight trilogy match. They're one apiece now. Um, Brandon Moreno lost the first one by was it a draw?
Yeah,
Was it a draw? Yeah, it was a draw
first one
because
was a draw.
Davison
Yes.
lost the point. That's right. So they're 1-1 with it. Well, 0-1, I guess. And then in the rematch, it looked like everyone thought Davison Figueredo was going to win. He was a big favorite, or a lot bigger than it's. Obviously he should have been. Um, and this is going to be a really good fight. I think. I don't think either one of these guys are capable of having boring fights.
No.
We got Moreno coming in at around minus 180 favorite. How do you see this fight going down?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of both these guys. Davison Figueroa is a devastating finisher for the weight class for sure, and worked his way right up into the title. Doing that. Um, entertaining fight all around. Every once in a while, you come across people who are just made to fight each other, and these guys, kind of complement the fighting styles of one another in order to put on an entertaining fight. I really like Brandon Moreno. I think in those title fights, he has really blossomed and even gotten better just within those fights. Unbelievable grappler, wicked cardio. And one thing that I always think about when I think about Davison Figueredo is how hard it is for him to make weight. He had some issues in the past, where he missed weight and wasn't able to win the title when it was first up for grabs, and he fought for it there. And then he made weight in his first fight against Brandon Moreno, and I don't know if you remember, but he was crying after he made weight because it seemed like it was so devastating for him to get there. He made it, and then they drew in that fight, and then obviously Moreno won in the second one. Figueredo changed camps now. He's training with Henry Cejudo's outfit there, and just in the translated video I've seen, he's pretty confident in that. They're training him to be a killer, he said, and he's going out for blood. So Moreno is the humblest dude on the planet. He's so happy that he's even where he is, and man, he's so good and so talented. I'm a pretty big fan of the guy, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm expecting in this fight. Maybe a little bit of a closer fight, and I really think one of the key components to a victory for Brandon Moreno is going to be his cardio. I just think he can outlast Davison Figueredo if he puts a good grappling, if he puts his grappling acumen at the forefront of his strategy. And I think Figueiredo's obviously more of a striker. He's a decent grappler, good on the ground, obviously with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. But I really think that if Moreno pushes the pace, he can take over the fight and potentially win because of that.
I definitely agree. That being said, I mean, I think Davison Figueredo has a very good chance of winning this fight by finish.
Yeah.
He's super dangerous. He's dangerous in the fifth round, even, right? I think his cardio issues are somewhat over. I think they're over embellished, but I do think that that's Moreno's best chance of winning the fight, though, is pressure him into the cage with body shots and grappling and lots of clinching, trying to slow him down. You really want to hit the body shots, I think, that because Moreno was hitting some body shots last time, and he was grappling with him a little bit as well in the second fight there, or sorry, the first fight. And it seemed to tire Figueredo out, but it wasn't enough to actually be able to really take advantage of it. And obviously, Davison has a higher power advantage, so the chances of him hurting Moreno are higher, I would say. That being said, Moreno has an insane chin. Obviously, I don't know if I think it's going to be pretty hard to knock that guy out too. But I think that if he pressures him, stays heavy on the front foot, and moving forward at all times if he can, Davison's a really good counter fighter. But if you're moving backwards, it's harder for you to counter fight instead of planting, right? And Davison Figueredo really likes to plant his feet when he's throwing strikes, especially. That's where he gets a lot of his power from,
Yeah.
obviously. And so I think that if he can stay moving forward, keep him pushed against the cage, a lot of clinching, a lot of takedowns, whether or not they're successful or not, doesn't matter. Make him try and push for it because I think Moreno does have a better cardio edge, like you said. And you just all the way in or all the way out. And I would prefer him to be all the way in, pushing on him, pulling on him, trying to pull him to the ground, grind on him, make his arms heavy, and work that body. If Moreno can work a lot of hooks to the body, especially from the clinch position, right? I think he's going to have a successful win.
Yeah, 100%. And I couldn't agree more about Figueredo, maybe not being the best fighter in terms of his striking when he's backing up. I think that's definitely a key. He doesn't throw many kicks at all. He's a puncher, really. So he's going to need, to create his own distance. He's good at judging distance. But if you're smashing him up against the cage and working for takedowns and making him, work to peel you off, he's definitely going to gas, a little sooner. I don't think he necessarily will gas entirely, but he'll definitely just get tired, more tired than Moreno. And Moreno does have some decent striking too, and he's not afraid to, use his jab to work his way into those clinches. And, he's got an all right hand. I don't really see a path to victory necessarily with knocking out, but with a knockout, but using his striking to his advantage in just prolonging the grappling exchanges and really wearing down Figueredo. I think that's got to be the game plan. I think Figueredo probably knows that that's the game plan too. So his path to victory in terms of what his team obviously believes they should be doing in their game plan has got to be start early and often. Find the range and throw the right hand and hope you land. It's got to be tough for a guy like Figueredo in this fight because he probably knows that even if he hits Moreno with his best right hand, it might not necessarily mean Moreno just goes down like the other guys have. So there's got to be a separate, path to victory, and that's probably going to be circling, moving away, sprawling well, getting away from the grappling, the prolonged grappling exchanges, and really just getting the strikes off when you are given the opportunity to. And you got to create those opportunities for yourself sometimes, right? So I think that's going to be, his path and game plan. But I do see it as Moreno's fight to lose. I think he's probably the fresher fighter. He's younger, like what is he, 6 years younger. So I just think he's, maybe a little more well-rounded, and I think that makes him the favorite in this fight. Obviously, he's shown that he can beat him in the past, and we'll see what happens. It's an exciting fight. I think, like I said, these guys are sort of meant to fight each other, and they really complement each other well in terms of creating an entertaining environment for a fight. So, looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, I do think that if Figueredo can have a good game plan and keep his back off the cage and just try and have a striking exchange with him, and if he can focus on the body shots as well, because the last fight he didn't. The last fight he got tired, right? The second fight, but the first fight Davison was able to outlast Moreno, or not outlast him really, but Davison won the first fight. If he didn't lose that point, he would have won that fight, and I think that he has a really good chance of winning. He hits harder, and if he can focus on body shots and keep his back off the cage, I think it's going to bring Moreno down to his level in cardio wise. If he can land some good solid body shots and take out Moreno's legs a little bit too, and at the end of the day, I mean he could knock Moreno out for sure, and he's hurt him multiple times in the first fight, and Moreno just happens to have really good recovery, a good chin, and a will to win. So I think this fight's really it's pretty much a coin flip. That being said, I do think Moreno has a slight advantage in my mind, just because he won the more recent fight, and usually the guy that wins the most recent fight wins the next one, especially if they're really close together. But that being said, this is it's a pretty close fight, and it may almost be a toss up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but like when I think of these two fighting and the fights they've already had and how they looked before they first fought, I honestly think that Moreno has looked better in every fight and Figueredo has looked less good in every fight. And that's just you're fighting, these are the two best fighters in that division for sure. And they're fighting one another. So it's almost inevitable that this is going to happen. And I just think Moreno's learned so much in those fights. I think in the first fight, when he realized that he could go in there with the champion and really equate himself very well, like you said, I think Figuereto probably wins the fight if he doesn't get that point deducted. But even coming out of that fight with a loss, and he didn't, he got the draw or whatever. But I even think if Moreno comes out of that fight with a loss, he's thinking to himself, "Man, I can hang in there with this guy." And he's got a will to win, belief in himself. And I think he kind of carried that momentum and that mentality into the second fight, and that's maybe he's just way more calm, and obviously got the you know got the win and looked very impressive doing so.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. I think Moreno probably does have a higher chance of winning right now. I mean, the odds makers certainly seem to agree. He's almost 2-1 favorite. That being
That's a
said,
decent
man,
bet, right? Like that's a decent bet on Figueredo, to be honest with you, if you're
yeah, I
getting
mean,
good
if you can
odds
get
there.
Figueredo, I mean, the
Yeah,
guy has good power, and I don't think he wanted to lose that last fight. So, he probably has been training his ass off in this fight. So,
yeah,
I think the weight cut might be too much for him, though, right?
yeah.
You just who knows?
That and to his credit, he's made a change where he's training with Cejudo's team. I think that's cool. I think that's a good team to train with. I think that it might be a necessary change for him to get him out of his comfort zone a little bit.
You like his
And
coach?
well, he's good at it.
He's
I give him
good.
that.
Eric Alvarezine.
Yeah, he's
Ugh.
good, and I like the idea of Figueredo being taken out of his comfort zone and maybe challenging himself to be a bit better in the aspects where he's maybe
I
lacking.
love
So,
his glasses. I
yeah,
love how they're not even prescription. So, gosh, just part of the character. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
the worst character. Let's move on here. Last fight we're going to talk about this week on the
Big
podcast. We
boys.
got the big boys here. Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. Um, I mean, everyone kind of knows exactly what this fight entails, right? You've got two guys on big win streaks. Francis Ngannou has turned his career around from the hesitant and you know the guy that fought Derek Lewis and the guy that got grappled by Stipe Miocic there a few years ago. Fresh off of a Stipe Miocic second round knockout, and a bunch of other knockouts within 15 seconds for his last four fights, right? So I mean, is this and then you got obviously Cyril Gane, just give you some background on it, is on a big win streak in the UFC. Looked better and better. He's got wins over Tanner Boser, JDS, Jairzinho Rosenstrike. He fought the big Alexander Volkov, and in his last fight he knocked out Derek Lewis. He's looked better and better every time. Is this, he's proven he can win by decision. He can win by knockout. He can win by submission. He's a big guy. Yeah, there's not a lot of guys that have had footwork like that in the heavyweight division, especially, right? The only guy that's really got good footwork in the heavyweight division is Stipe, and I don't think his footwork's near as smooth and reformed as Cyril Gane's, sorry. So basically, I just got a couple things I want to see what your opinion is on here. Is this I mean, if you look at the odds right now, you got Cyril Gane is a minus 150. Do you agree with those odds?
Absolutely not. I actually think that that's insane that it's not just even money, to be honest with you. Are people forgetting about Francis Ngannou here? That guy can punch somebody's head into the fifth row. Like, he's not a one trick pony, I don't think, in my mind. I think Derek Lewis is a one trick pony. I think he just wades people in. He's got decently fast hands and he can knock people out. I think Francis Ngannou has showed us that he can learn and adapt. And I think he did that against Stipe Miocic. He learned how to wrestle. He straight up learned how to sprawl properly. He showed good technique in that fight in order to get away from the wrestling. And then what ended up happening? He landed a punch that was devastating and it knocked out Stipe Miocic. I honestly think I'm not saying that that's going to happen because I 100% do believe that Cyril Gane is a different animal. I think he's the most athletic heavyweight. I think he's more athletic than Francis Ngannou, but he moves like somebody we've never seen before. There's a lot of talk about that. I think he's not a one trick pony in that he has shown good grappling. He shows the good footwork. He's got several strikes that he uses that are shown to be effective. But I honestly think that maybe not enough respect is being put on Francis Ngannou's name. I think his ability to actually land his punches and not, be a one-trick pony, like a one-shot artist. Like, he can set things up with a jab. He can work a jab and then land the right hand. And I honestly think that that's something that needs to happen in this fight is he needs to set up his right hand. So don't just go out throwing it right away. Because I think Gon would be willing to, he bounces and he has like almost a karate stance. I think he's going to be willing to stand and trade exchanges. Like, I don't really know he works for a takedown right away. So I think if it would be in Ngannou's best interest to immediately establish the center of the ring and try and work a jab. And work a jab until you know that you can land the right hand, set it up. He lands it once, it's over, honestly. I'm not sure anybody takes an Ngannou right hand. Like, it just doesn't happen.
I mean, you can take one maybe if it's not flush.
Yeah. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, this is a crazy fight, but the narrative has very easily been swayed from last summer when Ngannou won the title, and everyone says, that's the scariest man on the planet. This guy punches people's heads off, and now he knows how to wrestle too. How scary is that? And now all of a sudden, and I don't know what it is, don't get me wrong, Ciryl Gane, unreal fighter, 10-0 on a win streak, showed various ways of winning a fight against good opponents, former title challengers, former champions, but immediately changed the perspective and the narrative on this fight to the point that Ciryl Gane is now the favorite. I don't think that's legit. I think Ngannou should be still the favorite going into this fight. He is the champion after all. But we'll see what happens Saturday night. I mean, I'm excited about the fight. Someone's probably getting knocked out, so what's not more exciting than that heavyweight title fight? You gotta love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I'm not sure if I agree that he should be the favorite. I do think that Ngannou. I think that Gane is probably more skilled. He has a wider array of skills. He's got submissions. He's got really good jab. He's got better footwork. He throws with some power. Obviously, he's got finishes. I think that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that this could be Ciryl Gane's coming out party, and I think he might beat the shit out of Francis.
There is a part of me that I was thinking about this at work the other day.
No one can touch the
Is this
guy.
the coming out party for Ciryl Gane like you're talking about? And is this the immediate stopping of the hype train for Francis Ngannou? And does he float into, a kickboxing career or a boxing career for that matter? He seems to want to make money more than
If he
put on
loses.
exciting. Yes, that's what I mean. This whole like getting paid thing in the UFC is obviously at the forefront of a lot of topics regarding the sport right now. Francis Ngannou is a very outspoken person about this. This is his last fight of his deal, and I think he moves on. Like, I think he wants to get paid, and I think if he loses this fight, there's still going to be a lot of people that are willing to pay him. Boxing, Bellator, things like that. But this is hard to say. I think the best thing that could happen in this fight in terms of the business of the UFC is for Ciryl Gane to win, because he is a technical striker. He is a very entertaining striker. If he's a guy who could get on a bit of a run at heavyweight, I think he changes the game at heavyweight, because he can knock you out, and he is a knockout artist in that fashion, but he's so much more than that too. Whereas Ngannou is just the brute force knockout artist that everyone seems to love.
At the end of the day, man, motherfuckers want to see people almost die.
I agree. And we almost seen that
With
with Francis
Overeem.
Ngannou's fights numerous times. Overeem, Rosenstrike, those dudes almost died in those fights. Insane knockouts. Entertaining as hell. Legendary moments of the sport, for that matter. And it's like, that's why, like, all that happens, and Ciryl Gane still the favorite going into this fight. So what does that tell you about the way people are betting, right?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people think that Gane can just go long enough to not get hit. I mean, he didn't get hit by anyone else he fought. really, right? I mean, he is very elusive. He's very long. I think he knows how to strike very well. He knows angles properly. He knows how to get out of the way. And he's sparred with Ngannou many times.
Yeah, that's another
So,
thing.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's never probably taken a giant haymaker with 4 ounce gloves to the side of the head. So it doesn't really matter because you get slept if you get hit, really,
Exactly.
right? But I think that he's good enough that I think he's going to make Francis look foolish. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I see a very possible scenario that you're going to see levels to this performance from Cyril Gahn. And I think that Ngannou might gas himself out trying to swing for the fences.
Yeah, I think there's two things that are just coming to my mind, and it's like you just said. There's a chance that Cyril Gahn absolutely makes Ngannou look bad, and just outskills him to a win. There's also a chance that this fight happens, and we say to ourselves, "How the hell did I not put the mortgage down on Francis
I know.
Ngannou
By
at
murder.
yeah at you're at value? Like that's just crazy. Like that I think that is like the overarching sentiment of how I think about this is that you're not a smart person if you're not putting money on Ngannou. That is the bet to make on this whole card. Put money on Ngannou right now at a heavy load because there is a chance he walks to the center of the ring and murks Cyril Gahn with one punch. It's just something that can happen.
So you can get Francis Ngannou at plus 150 by knockout.
That's crazy. I think that's like people are just not being smart about that. I don't even care who wins. He could lose, but the fact that you can make that bet is just crazy.
Always pick double knockout. Francis in round 1 plus 350.
Man.
Fuck it.
Dude, I'm definitely making these bets.
Just placed the 20 spot on old Francis, even though I picked Cyril Gahn to win. Thanks, gambling.
Yeah, well, I mean, hedge it.
Always hedge. I picked Cyril Gahn in the parlays.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, so
I can't wait for the gambling on this one. To be honest with you, I'm going to be throwing some cash around for sure.
yeah, good. We'll throw some cash down.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know if you got anything else you want to add. I mean, official prediction.
For the main event, I'm going to go with. This is tough. I'm going to go with Francis Ngannou by knockout.
Round.
Call it round 2.
Yeah.
Because I think they feel each other out in the first round because Gahn knows that he can go the distance. And then I think Ngannou unleashes all freaking hell in the second round.
Just murders him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that happens because it would be awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do think that Gahn is going to win by. I don't know if he's going to finish Francis. I mean, Francis has an insane chin too, right? And he's got a good will to win. He doesn't give up, right? So, but yeah, Cyril Gahn by decision, I think, and Francis boxes and gets murdered by Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, don't just go straight to the top of the boxing pyramid.
Mistakes
you will get
will be made.
murked.
I mean, I think I like Francis's chances if they use 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. Nobody sanctions a boxing fight with 4-ounce gloves. That's called an MMA fight.
ONE FC does it.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do it. Deontay Wilder would never do that. He's smart.
No, but Fury said he would. I mean, he wouldn't.
Yeah, well.
Because you can't block with those punches. As
The
soon as
thing
he
is
just
why
puts his gloves up to block, gets dead.
And
anyway.
why would Tyson Fury do that when he can just go fight somebody else and make the exact same paycheck
Just
and just outbox them?
fight Ortiz again?
Yeah, exactly. Fight somebody.
Yeah, fight Deontay Wilder again.
Yeah, I'll watch that.
Yeah, or what's his name? That fucking the big English guy there.
Oh, I don't even know his name.
Joshua.
He sucks.
Anthony Joshua.
sucks.
Yeah, he's gonna get beat by Usyk.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was Modern Day MMA podcast episode 108. Big thanks to my guest Nathan, or we'll call him Nate Dog.
Perfect.
Nathan. Haven't said that in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot for listening, guys. We will see you in 7 days. Enjoy the fights.